Yeah, welcome to my channel. Today's episode, it's just going to be a quick one. Basically, I just not found out, but it's one of those things that came up very quickly. Basically, the trade deadline. I mean, it's not the trade deadline just yet, but like the trades that are happening right now, or have happened in the past 2 hours. One, Russell Westbrook going to Utah, and the Lakers getting D'Angelo Russell. The Knicks getting Josh Hart and trading Cam Reddish and 23 conditional draft pick. But more importantly, the Nets trading um, KD to Phoenix. In return, the Nets getting some draft picks and such. Basically, the question is like who won on these trades? With the Knicks, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm all happy for Cam Reddish. Someone found him that wants him. Basically, I'm hoping Cam Reddish goes all out and with Portland to show basically that he does what he does. He's capable of playing up to his potential, as he did with Duke. Granted, he didn't do so well in Atlanta, but I think that was more of a case of like the circumstances of the players that are around there. I think with Portland, with Damian Lillard, I think he might be able to achieve what he needs to be basically. Because one of the things is, I think with Thibodeau, basically the reason why he didn't want to play him is more of a case of I think it was because of the fact that Rose traded for him. Leon Rose traded for him, and Thibodeau didn't want him. And I think this was Thibodeau basically putting him in the dog. I was like, I'm not going to play him. I didn't approve of this trade. I didn't want him. He doesn't just mesh well with my style, so I'm not going to play him. And Rose has no choice but to like trade him at this point because like if Thibodeau was never going to play him, there was no what can you do to get back Josh Hart? Granted, it's another guard, defensive guard. I'm not sure how that's going to help in the long term, but let's see what happens. For Cam Reddish, I hope he does really well. Like to the point of like if he does flourish in Portland and does really excellent, then it'll only not to take anything away from Tom Thibodeau. He's a really good coach. The only thing is like if he didn't recognize that talent, then that's on him, and this might affect his future with the Knicks at that point as well too, because you had this much talent, a potential All Star on your team, which you could help the Knicks elevate them to what they needed to be. Now with the Jazz getting Russell Westbrook, he might just go all out and like help out the Jazz as much as they possibly can. But in reality, I think it's more of a case where he's gonna be. I think he's gonna come to the point of like being like another Carmelo Anthony, really good for so well, but he's on the tail end of his career, just like Dwayne Wade, where basically he's not gonna have the skills that he had in the past. His skill set hasn't been there unless he can like rebuild himself up and do what he can do. But I think he's going to be like another Carmelo Anthony, where he's going to have to be in that supportive role. The question is his ego willing to take that, to be the supportive role and like help all the other players flourish with them? Now with the Lakers, they're getting D'Angelo Russell. The question is like, is this a good trade for them? Unknown. I mean, it is unknown. Sorry, I had to pause there because I got a phone call coming at that point. Um, Russell may or may not be good with the Lakers. He definitely complements AD, Anthony Davis. Does he complement well with LeBron? I think he can actually. There was a while that D'Angelo Russell was really good, and he helped elevate teams to a point where they can be to playoff caliber. He might be able to help the Lakers down the next year, not this year, but next year, and bring him up farther into the playoffs. Hopefully. But then again, let's not forget, um, LeBron might not be at his skill set as he was, and the other aspect is as well as let's see how well they mesh. That's the other factor too. Uh, as far as the KD trade to Phoenix, it might work out really well. To be honest with you, I mean, that's a blockbuster trade. When Devin Booker's back, you'll have Devin Booker, KD, and CP3. Now the question is like, can Chris Paul relinquish his role more and more to Devin Booker and KD? I think he might, because like he knows he's on his last legs. He needs that championship. He's on his last legs. There's no way he's gonna go beyond this. So I think he's gonna let basically KD and Devin ride, drive it. He'll just ride them to get to that championship and get that final championship ring. The only question is like, can he be done? Because of the West now, it's all stacked at this point. To be quite honest, it's stacked. You got the Denver. well, Denver's doing really well as well too. They got the number one record at this point, but and then you got the Memphis Grizzlies with John Morant. But the other aspect as well too is um, with the Dallas Mavericks, they got Kyrie Irving now. So the question is, how well can Kyrie Irving mesh with Doncic to the point where when he comes back, will they elevate to what they need to? Like right now, they're already at number five or number six or number four in the playoff picture at this point. And then of course, let's not forget when Zion comes back as well too. The Pelicans get elevated at that point as well too. So the real question is, how does that help in the long term too? Um, Not long term, but how does that help in the playoff picture? The long term aspect is like, what does this do for Phoenix with KD there? KD and Devin Booker, young enough talent with KD as a veteran and CP3. This might bring more players to the Phoenix Suns where they might want to be traded to them or sign with them, if or force a buyout on their contract so that they could sign with the Phoenix Suns. Because you want that super team. And the fact is like, also let's not forget Golden State. We can't leave out Golden State. Once they start clicking, gelling again, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with as well too. So it's hard to say what's going to happen. The NBA Western Conference is definitely a loaded, stacked conference. So whoever comes out of it, it's going to be interesting to see. I can't, for my mind, figure out who's going to come out. I mean, Denver's doing really well, but the thing is like you've got everyone now at this point where it's like once you're hot in the playoffs, you can get to the finals. Let's not forget the '99 Knicks. I mean, they were not that great. They did not deserve to get into the playoffs, but they did. I mean, to the finals, but they did. And I think it was just on pure talent alone. But at that point, they were David Robinson and Tim Duncan were unstoppable at that point. But in any case, um, I'm not sure what to say exactly with this trade. Who wins out in this trade? My opinion believes that I think the one that wins out dramatically is the Phoenix Suns, but I also think the Nets probably might have won out because they got four draft picks, so they're building up some draft capital. So it's a question of now is like they're definitely in a rebuilding phase. Let's put it that way. The Nets are definitely in a rebuilding phase. The question is like how well do they use those draft picks? Do they draft wisely, or two, what do they do with that draft capital? Can they just trade off for some players as well and sign up some proper agents at that point and rebuild? But they're definitely in the rebuilding phase. The KD, Kyrie Irving, James Harden experiment, complete failure. We've seen it. It's completely officially done. I think the Nets just want to rid themselves of that by moving KD away, so they could just like wipe their slate clean and start fresh all over again, which makes absolute sense. And I think from a Nets perspective, I would have done the exact same thing if Kyrie Irving's gone and James Harden's gone. The question is now if the Nets can trade Ben Simmons. If I'm the Nets, I trade Ben Simmons as well and get rid of this guy. See if you can get some draft picks. Who's stupid enough? Well, not stupid enough, but who's crazy enough to sign Simmons? Honestly, maybe the Pelicans. I think maybe he can. Simmons can probably flourish with Zion. Basically, I have a feeling he can, and that's a strong possibility. But in any case, we'll leave it at that. But anyways, who do you think? Please leave your comments. And I do read all my comments, and I do try to respond to them when I do get notified. But please let me know what you think. Who do you think won out in this trade deadline so far? Of course, the trade deadline is not ended yet. We still got another close to 13 hours for the trade deadline. But so far, who do you think has won so far? Um, do you think the KD trade elevates the Phoenix Suns and brings their shot of getting to the finals much higher compared to the Mavericks? Or do the Lakers get into the playoffs as a result? Possibly. It's a possibility too. If the Lakers start winning, I think they just have to win 20 straight games, and there has to be some losing streaks along the ways with the teams ahead of them. I think they can make it into the playoff wild card spot, basically the playoff. Uh, what is that? The playoff berth type of thing, playoff tournament that they have to just to make it into the playoffs. Uh, I'm just gonna call it like the wild card, basically. In any case, let me know what your thoughts are, and also please subscribe. I say, hey, doesn't sorry, it doesn't hurt to subscribe to other channels. If you find my content entertaining or fun, or even you just kind of hate what I talk about, and like you just want to see what I keep seeing what I talk about, subscribe, and you'll see them in your feed eventually. But of course, if you're subscribed to a lot of other channels, mine might just fall into the wayside or whatnot. But I suggest you don't turn on the notifications. It's up to you if you want to turn on notifications. But for me, one of those things where, as I said, I like to freebase. Sorry, in my other videos, I mentioned that I like to freebase and talk, off the cuff when it comes to sports specifically as well. Too, I don't like to rehearse, have a script to talk about what I'm talking about. Usually, if I do have a script, it's usually bullet points, but that's really tech related stuff, and more often than not, I don't have those as well too. I just like talk straight off the cuff as well too, and freebase off of that when it comes to tech related stuff as well too. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's more of a case of like I am learning, as I said. Basically, this is one of those things where it's very rare. Not my nature to kind of voice my opinions or sort of podcast. I am learning to sort of podcast. Maybe I should take a master class on this stuff, and see how it works out, and like maybe apply those skill sets. But I think the best way to learn is if I get feedback from you guys. You guys provide me feedback. I learn from that, and I will take that. I do take that into account. Like, I love to get people's feedback about this. Like them. And as far as like to learn from there. But in any case, uh, again, let me know your comments as to what you think thoughts are about these trades so far, and who do you think's won out so far. I'll probably create a update, another video much later on Thursday, or yeah, Thursday after the trade deadline, to see probably who has the better who's done the better trade at this point as well too. For all we know, the Suns trade might not be the biggest trade. I mean, all we know is maybe the Knicks might come out with something very big at this point as well too. Who knows? We'll see. But in any case, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.